Hello again. I'm guessing that most of us, on hearing yesterday about the little girl being attacked in London's Leicester Square, immediately assumed that the person arrested would be a mad foreigner rather than a normal Londoner called Jim Brown or David Smith. Coming so soon after the Southport business, it caused some of us to ask, what on earth is happening in this country? As I have pointed out many times, in this country murder is traditionally a domestic matter, one conducted indoors between family and friends. A man cutting his wife's throat, say, or a parent killing their own child, friends falling out, sort of thing. What we have seen in Britain over the last 25 years or so, a period which roughly coincides with the introduction of large-scale and unrestricted immigration to the country, is a sharp increase in the murder of strangers carried out in an outdoor setting. Of course, such things have been known in this country, but they are so exceptional that we remember them almost 150 years later. One thinks of Jack the Ripper, whose victims were strangers to him and mostly killed out of doors. These crimes have been very rare, though, whereas now they are very common. Most of the shootings and stabbings in London these days, to give one instance, are not carried out between relatives and friends, but often involve people who are strangers to each other. The majority also take place outside, which is another change. The majority of these, what we might perhaps describe as new murders, are the work of people whose family origins lay outside Britain. We saw such a case, of course, with the Southport stabbings, where the victims were strangers and the parents of the man arrested and charged with the crimes were born abroad. In a way, we should not perhaps be too surprised at this. Different nationalities and cultures have, of course, different traditions in music, food, clothing, religion, and so on. So perhaps it's not too surprising if traditions differ too when it comes to murder. For this reason, it is often easy to guess when reading about some murder or other whether it was committed by somebody whose roots lie in this country or not. So it was that when those little girls were stabbed at random in Southport, most people guessed quite correctly that the person arrested for this was likely to be somebody whose parents were foreign. In just the same way, when news emerged of the little girl stabbed 8 times at Leicester Square station by a complete stranger, it was not difficult to foresee that the person arrested would also have parents who were not born in this country. None of this, of course, says anything about foreigners in general, because such crimes are astonishingly rare in any country. The fact that a man called Abdullah, who was probably Muslim, wrestled with the man with the knife man in this case has nothing to do with it at all. Of course, some Muslims will behave in that way, just as some Jews will and some Christians. The fact is, we are seeing many peculiar crimes, violent crimes, lately, that most of us can tell at once have probably been committed by people whose parents are foreigners. I don't see why we should hesitate to talk about this and reflect upon whether or not it is just an undesirable consequence of mass immigration to Britain, or whether there's more to the case than that.